All right, so let's start. I'm very excited about this conversation because you're going to give us a voice about the marketer.
I'm going to try.
And we just saw this incredible tool
Yeah.
that Brian was
Super
just
cool.
sharing. You have been through innovation cycles like mobile, like
Mm.
programmatic before.
Mhm.
What guidance do we give to marketers or anybody here to sort of evaluate these tools and look at them? What should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I'll answer that question in two ways. First of all, because I know there's a lot of folks in here who are building these tools, agencies, partners who are building some of this tech, things like that. Thank you for doing it, first of all, and keeping us all on the cutting edge. But also know there's a bunch of you doing this. And so from a marketer's perspective and a media leader's perspective, all of you are coming at us. So, uh,
Oh,
oh, cool.
we have
Um,
slides?
I don't know. Do we have slides? I don't think
No.
so. No, go back.
Okay, but
Fine.
thank you.
That's us.
It's the new technology.
We have pictures.
This
Do
has
we
been
look
around
like
a
our
while.
pictures? Mine's not an AI picture.
No,
Is yours an AI
and mine's
picture?
actually from 10 years ago.
Oh, there you go. Mine probably is too. I do have AI pictures though. The AI headshot thing is really freaking cool. Anyway, it's everything you wanted it to be without plastic surgery. It's great. Anyway, so but yeah, I mean, back to the reality. Like you're all coming at us. We only have so many hours in the day. We all want to do these things. We do. We're excited about them, but differentiating between them and then also being able to understand what is going to fit in our business today versus something we need to be thinking about for, 6 months from now or a year from now. Some of you are on the cutting edge of things that like not every marketer can be your pilot program for, right? So understand the ones that you're going after and try and focus a little bit, but also give the marketer the opportunity to say, not yet. But help them understand the differentiation between what you're offering and others are offering, because if you're not paying attention to each other, then you're putting the work on us to try and differentiate between all of your different products. So help us understand
Yeah,
that.
and what have you
That
seen?
didn't fully answer your
No,
question,
no,
though, but I'll
well,
get
no,
back
it
to it. Go
has.
ahead.
It has. We'll come back to that in a second. But
Yeah.
what have you seen that you're most excited about or that you're most encouraged by
Yeah.
in sort of this world of media and creative?
Yeah. I mean, look, I love media. It's why I do what I do. It's why I've done what I've done for more years than I'm going to admit. Okay. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And so, and part of the reason I love it is this kind of acceleration. And I think we were talking about this a second ago, right? The acceleration of the curve that we are on in the technology changes in this industry are always mind blowing. Like we all remember the 15 years of the year of mobile. Um, Are we still in the year of mobile? No, we finally moved on to the year of AI. Okay, great. We'll be in the year of AI for probably the next 15 years. We'll watch that happen too. We all remember the metaverse happening. Where's the metaverse? Who has a metaverse strategy? Okay. So like technology comes and goes, but it is constantly changing, which means from media planners' perspective, our world is constantly changing. New technologies, new platforms show up. They don't have an ad unit on them yet. Eventually they have an ad unit on them, and that gets really exciting. The ad unit doesn't fit into any of our planning tools, so we don't know how to actually buy it, and our agencies have to figure out it doesn't fit in media tools, all of those things, right? These are the things that keep our jobs exciting, though. It's finding those next things that are gonna make it interesting or different. And ultimately, I always back it up to how do we create the best consumer experience with media?
Right.
If I can have a consumer actually like media, that would be great. Here's the problem. How do you advertise to people who don't want to be advertised to? Because really, most of you are also annoyed with ads. Don't lie. Every time you get that pre-roll ad before a video that is telling you how to fix your dishwasher, you're like, God damn it, why is there an ad here? We have created an industry where people are actually paying to avoid us.
Yep.
That's a really hard position to sit in. So if we can use all of these tools and these tech to help us get to a place where consumers actually appreciate advertising, and it's not all on the placement. I think a huge piece of it is on the placement. Some of it is on the asset itself. Tell a good story, show up with something interesting. Then I do think we start to make this entire place better for consumers. But at the end of the day, we've got to start with at least how do we put ads in places where they create a better experience on behalf of the consumer.
And the value exchange is there between you and that consumer, the
Yeah.
brand and the consumer, which I think a lot of people forget about. But given what I see, and this is where I'd really like you to react, when you really think about the pace of whether LLM adoption or consumer discovery, it seems as though the pace of change is very, very different than when we were with mobile or than we were with programmatic. So that, in my mind, gives a brand an opportunity to test and learn in a way of rapid innovation more than ever before.
Right.
How do you manage that? How will you manage that, I would say? So
Yeah.
so think about two sides of an equation here. You got the medium machine going here and you got the creative machine going here. How do you see those two wheels operating?
It's the gear of the test
Yeah,
and learn in the
yeah,
middle.
and then
Yes,
they
that
come
was a car
together.
joke.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I like to talk about gears. I like to go fast in cars, not illegally fast on racetracks. Go fast in cars. Okay. So how do I think about that? So
how do you think about sort of adopting this? If you think of Moore's law curve, it just seems to accelerate
you can see the
for
charts.
us.
They're crazy. It's like
Yes.
a massive up and to the right.
How
on
are
this.
you going to sort of look at that in
So-
sort of the test and learn?
Yeah, we're super fortunate as General Motors in that I'm a big enough organization to have test and learn teams inside my organization. Your clients are going to rely on you as their agency likely to help them do that. And we'll rely on some of our agencies and some of our external partners to do that as well. But I think if you're a brand, you have to be thinking about how do you build this into your test and learn process. And it's back to the things we've talked about for years, right? Like reserve 10% of your budget to go test things, right? To test the new, to test the interesting. This is just about testing what A&I can do for you in these places. The risk a marketer runs is testing too many things at once and not knowing what actually worked.
Yep.
And so helping understand and recognizing I have marketers in the room, but I also have folks who are building some of this tech in the room as well, recognizing that the marketer, help them, ask them the question, what are you testing today? And can this be a part of your test tomorrow, right? Help us do that.
And talk to us a bit about the metric around the test. Like, how do you measure whether that test is going to be effective or not? Like a pilot and scale.
Yeah, so it depends on a few things. It depends on ultimately what you're trying to accomplish as a business, right? If my mission is, I like when my dad introduces me to people and down in Florida, and he's like, this is my daughter, and people are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I sell cars. It's much easier than explaining what I do, but I sell cars, right? That is my job, I sell cars. And so as a result, the test has to result in it improves the volume of leads that we're sending to a dealership. It helps us get higher into the consideration set. Like we've got our metrics for success. Every brand, ideally, has their metrics for success. They're going to prove that it's being better. Now, some of the tools that we're talking about aren't going to be immediate revenue drivers or help you improve the number of leads, but they might shorten the creative cycle. They might have your media plan get to market faster. They might help with things. We have a mission of zero congestion, zero crashes, zero emissions. Where are we? Zero emissions. This is what I'm working on because advertising is a big piece of that chunk, as we know, right? And so how do I push the envelope forward if this is going to help me pull back on my emissions and it's also going to make the consumer experience better and it's going to. But here's the risk. CPMs are going to go up. They are. And advertisers have to learn to accept that. But you can pay more for better quality. Right. And we've been on this downward spiral of chasing efficiencies. I hate looking at agency contracts that say, and this happens all the time, you know better than I do. Yeah, marginal down, like I need CPMs to be 5% less than next year, 5% next to last year, 5%, and I'm like, what are you asking your agency to chase?
Will you share with the last test you just ran and CPMs went up and you said yes?
Oh, absolutely.
Last week?
We ran a test. I'm trying to remember which test I told you about. We've run a few of them, but yeah, I mean the simple answer is we ran some media tests and ultimately we changed. What are you telling me? Sorry, 5 minutes. Thank you. The clock says 1.
It says 1 minute here.
Whew,
we're allowed to go
5.
longer.
We got 5. We'll take the 5.
Yeah.
The 5 is fine. I can be a minute or two late for my call. My boss will survive. He's a nice guy. But the at the
Just
end.
tell him you're talking to me. It'll be all.
Yeah, it's fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you were, fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've put a few tests into market. One of the most recent ones, trying to get to incremental reach. And as a result of getting to incremental reach, one of the things that we were looking at was how do we get to these unique audiences? Getting to unique audiences doesn't mean spending more on the same partners that we're spending on today. Quite often what it means is actually spending on more partners. Well, take us back to the media planning that I was doing in 99 and 2000 when we RFP'd 100 different little bitty sites and publishers because ad networks didn't exist yet. And that process it starts to come back a little bit because I need to get to more and more partners to extend it out, not just programmatically, but directly because the inventory that shows up in the programmatic ecosystem isn't necessarily the same that shows up directly. You start to add more partners. Yes, your effective CPMs go up, but guess what? I'm in better places
than before.
and I'm more seen.
So actually what Brian was showing before is really a help. So
Sure.
So in your mind, you're anticipating my CPMs are going to go up, but I'm going to be closer
I'm
and
gonna be more effective.
better quality, and I'm going to be more effective than ever before.
Right.
So
I think
incorporating these
efficiency is a
tools.
very scary
Yeah.
word.
Yeah,
The word efficiency scares
and
me
at
a bit,
General
unless you're
Motor-
talking about the time it takes to get something done.
Yes,
But
agreed.
the cost efficiency is frightening.
But you, as sort of in your position, can really help lead the industry around that, because I
I
think
hope so.
normally people will just want reach. Like those are still the metrics that are out there, which is why I think the relationship between the CFO and the CMO have been broken for many years.
I think you're absolutely right. And look, I think the CMOs who are doing it exceptionally well are the ones that are proving to the business that marketing is a business driver.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I mean, I'm lucky enough to be under a CMO who definitely drives that vision. And we are proving to the organization that media investment and marketing overall, not just media, but marketing overall, is a business driver. Like we can actually help drive outcomes.
The other conversation we were starting to have was sort of the balance between brand and performance marketing, and just give everyone a little bit of perspective that you have around that also.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of it goes back to the same conversation of like if you're driving efficiency, then you're going to continue to optimize to the lowest CPM. The worst thing you can tell me is that we've run an MMM model, and the team that runs the MMM model wants to optimize the plan for more ROAS. And a higher ROAS. And I'm like, that sounds great, right? To most people in the room, you go, oh my God, well, yeah, why wouldn't you want higher ROAS? Well, that's great, except some of the higher ROAS I'm going to get is on smaller volume of sales. And remember what I told you I do for a living. I sell cars. I don't sell cars at higher margins. I sell cars. The volume of vehicles I move is as important, if not more important, than the return on investment that I got on my advertising. And so the risk that you run when believe me, I grew up doing data analytics. It's where I started my career. I love the data wonks, but sometimes they get so focused on return on investment, efficiency, lower CPMs, lower cost per this, lower and you are chasing this downward funnel, and you take a funnel and you turn it into a straw.
Yeah.
Because you completely lose the opportunity to tell consumers that your product even exists. And I shared with you before, and I think we've said this a lot as General Motors, like 4% of the population will buy a new car in any given year. 4%. So how small does my audience become once I tell you that only 4% are going to buy a new car? New cars get purchased all the time. New cars, 4% of the population. Once you enter the market for a new car, you have 4 vehicles that are top of mind, and 70% of the time you buy one of those. 70% of the time. So the cost to be one of the potential 30% that you actually consider is really, really expensive. So where do I need to win? I need to win in being part of that 4, which means I need to tell you that my product exists, that I am in that initial consideration set.
Yep.
That is top of funnel marketing, period, right? I need to tell you that I exist. It doesn't mean that I don't need to do the hard work at the bottom too. I do. I need to tell you where your dealer is. I need to tell you what the offers are. I need to make sure that when I am in one of those 4, that you're actually considering the features that I have available to you. Super Cruise is amazing. You should all try it. OnStar is an incredible program that has so many safety features, especially if you have teenage drivers that get it, right? These are important things to make sure that we tell consumers are there for them and that our vehicles are capable of. That's the bottom part of the funnel. So I still have to spend money there.
Yep.
But if I only spend money there,
you're not going to get the result.
I'm not going to get enough volume to sell my vehicles.
Yeah, okay. So just final words on recommendations for people here around sustainability, because now your job's a lot harder.
Always.
Agencies are a lot harder. We have a lot more to think about. We use more energy. We could use more powerful tools. Like, what are the considerations that you have in your mind around sort of being a responsible, sustainable marketer?
I mean, it's fascinating, right? When we think about it, we've got literally nuclear power plants are getting restarted in order to support AI. We've got massive data centers in Abilene, Texas. Has anybody ever heard of Abilene, Texas? I grew up in Houston, and I know where Abilene, Texas is, but nobody has ever heard of it until somebody said, oh, by the way, there's massive data centers there. So there's a lot happening that doesn't feel very sustainable. Well, nuclear energy is actually really sustainable, but there's a lot happening there about the data suck that is.
It's going to be popped back up.
It's going to be popped back up by Microsoft. Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot happening there that scares us, and we know that AI is a huge data suck. And then we know advertising, for many advertisers, in some cases, advertising is their largest carbon emission problem. It's not our largest. We're a car manufacturer, so you can imagine it's not. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? And we're doing everything we can, like I said before, for zero emissions. So I'm thinking a lot about how we optimize our advertising to pull back on those costs. But here's what happens when we start to look at the things that actually help us, right? The partners that we buy media from who have 70 hops in the supply chain as opposed to 20 hops in the supply chain. You know what, maybe I don't need to work with a partner who's got 70 hops in the supply chain, or maybe I need to have an honest conversation with them to say, hey, you're working with 70 different SSPs and really only 3 of them are driving your business.
Right.
Could you maybe focus, because then you become more sustainable to me as a partner, and I want to partner with companies that are acting more sustainably in how they're producing the.
And I think if you ask the question, then it challenges the vendors actually and your partners to actually change how they do things.
Yeah, and I think for advertisers, the thing, and we were talking about this before, we are getting, everybody's coming at us with solutions, and it's wonderful. And I'm so happy that there's so many solutions out there. And this will, like everything else we've seen, it will blow up to have hundreds and hundreds of partners. It will consolidate down to a few over the course of probably the next 5 to 7 years, maybe less, because this particular piece of the industry is, I think, moving faster. So those are kind of my general predictions. I think for advertisers, we need to work with each other to know the questions to ask, because there isn't anybody out there, somebody's going to get offended by this, that is actually an AI expert. Because it's too new. I'm sorry. You just can't be the expert in something when it's that new. If you were in the 15 years of mobile, you were an expert by the time you got to 10 years. But it's not today, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be, but that also means that the questions we need to ask are constantly changing, and the advertisers need to help each other through our relationships, like through the ANA and our other places, to know the right questions to ask of the partners. Because I do believe that probably everybody in this room is here for the good of doing what you're trying to accomplish. But that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be players out there that are there for the nefarious of what they're trying to do. And we want to make sure that we're working with the partners who are going to stay on the right side of history as we do these things.
Great. Well, I think we'll finalize there, but that was a really, really insightful conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.